Hello guys, Tos here, and today I will be showcasing one of our two decks that we've played in the $2,000 tournament that GG Gabriel hosted. We got second place. Unfortunately, we lost finals. It was a bit unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. You can check out that video in DP Grinder's channel. And without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. So we have 3 Mad Love, 3 Holy Suit, 3 Stake Your Soul, 1 Reinforcement of the Army. The first row is just standard. You cannot play less than any of these cards. You cannot not play Reinforcement of the Army. You cannot cut any card here, basically. 2 Long, I prefer playing 2 over 3. I feel like 3 is too clunky, and I feel like 1 is not enough. I feel like 2 is just the perfect ratio of Long that you want to play. I know it is a fire, and fires are scarce in this economy, I understand, but a lot of the hands that will be clunky are hands that will have, like, Long, Snow Devil, Lupus, Force Release. So I'm trying my best to make the deck as consistent as possible in reducing these color cards, because this deck does play a lot of them. We have 1 Borger. I play 1 and not 2 and not 3. I think 3 is massively incorrect. I think 2 is respectable. I chose to play with 1 because from my testing, I didn't feel like I needed the second one. I feel like the attribute that you miss the most usually is the fire. And I also realized while testing the format that Imperm is a scarce card. A lot of decks are not playing it. Vanquish is not playing it. Some yummy variants are not playing it. People have realized that it's pretty low impact. And so the only real card that you will be like dodging is those few people who are playing it. Valor does not even see play from what I've seen, like other than very, very rare decks. So the argument for playing more Borger just to dodge that, I feel like is subpar. 1 Caesar Valius. God, I love this card. The first effect will come up sometimes, but usually use this card for the big dog effect, aka the rivalry outer. This card, a lot of the time, you will try to play with very safe. You want to always keep it in hand. So, like, a lot of the time, if you can, after you summon Caesar Valius, you want to like have a way to bounce back the Caesar Valius, either with Madlove or a Heavy Borger. That way, if they like rivalry or goes and you like later after they break your board, you can still like go Holy Sue and then Caesar Valius put back and then Caesar's Valius pop, which you will need to start doing. You need to start thinking about Rivalry and Gozen because these cards are in everyone's side deck minimum if the deck can play it, or some people, like myself, will be playing them in the main deck to punish you if you do not play around them. Going first and second, by the way. You're not safe. You are not safe. Especially for me. 1 start, 1 Snow Devil, this card, you see it so many times. This card, you will see it if you normal summon Madlove and use effect, and they don't ash it and they save it for Vanquish on start, you'll see that card, I promise. 3 Azuna, 1 Lupus. This is probably the best card of the K9 engine. Probably the reason you play the K9 engine. Another thing is, keep in mind that Lupus, while being a brick, can go into Typhon and can also have some really cool interactions where, versus Yummy, for example, you can just make any Xyz and just sit on that Xyz, and on your turn you attack and then you make Zeus. And all of their interruptions, all of their outs to monsters are targeting effects. So they have Cookie, they have SP, they have the Book of Moon, and they have Field Spell, Rocky. And all of those need to target the monster. So unless they have Droplet and use the Droplet, which if they have Droplet, they're going to be Droplet in the Lupus itself. Or the Izuna, but that's also incorrect. You're supposed to like save your Droplet for Lupus in case they hard draw the Lupus. So those interactions can come up. There's like other interactions where you will summon Hound to survive, but that's just like a fairyland. It's not actually going to come up. 2 Yokel, I tried my hardest to fit the third one. I think in theory, it's a card that you play if you want to see. So I ideally want to play 3, which you kind of are playing 3 with Case of K9, but I tried to fit the third physical copy of Yokel and I just couldn't without making my deck go over 41. Over 40, and I did not want to play the deck over 40 for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, Vanquish K9 is a deck that you want to be as consistent as possible, and I feel like adding that third copy of Yokel will not make the deck more consistent because you have less chance of seeing the good cards that you want to see, aka Raisin, Madlove, Holy Sue, Rhoda, and Prosperity. And yeah, I also, for the second reason, I did not want my decks to have different counts. So I did not want to play a 41 deck and a 40 deck, because in a tournament, people will know what deck you're on. And if they know that I'm like on Malice, for example, because my Malice deck will always be 40. And if this deck is 41 and they're playing and they see 41 and I scoop game one without revealing info, they're still going to side Lancia because they know what deck I'm on. Whereas if I scoop game one with both my decks being 40, they do not know what to side for, and they cannot just blindside Lancia unless they make a read, which is just going to be luck at that point. Case of K9 Lantern Force Release, I know some people have moved these to the side. I know some other people have cut these completely. I understand those points of views. I will not say like my point of view is correct, theirs is incorrect. I just prefer from experience playing the Force Release in the main. I think the card is insane. There's like multiple ways of getting through it. You can even like send it with Izuna if like you already have your Lupus, and then it can reset itself. Case of K9 can reset it from graveyard as well. Reaper can reset it from graveyard as well. Like the card can just be reset a lot of times, and the effect to Xyz into this guy, this guy's so good. And pop a card will just win you the game, especially with hands that have like Yokel plus name, aka just K9 Engine, or like just K9 Engine plus a Vanquish Soul name that isn't live attribute wise. So in those kind of hands, you want to have Force Release, because then your ceiling is not high at all, because you do not have access to the Vanquish Soul engine. 1 Prosperity for consistency, which is what this deck lacks. 3 Ash Blossom. The card is not as good when used as a hand trap solely, because it's not a high impact hand trap, especially versus decks like Malice, decks like Crystron K9, and especially because it does make the K9 engine live. So if they have an Izuna or a like if they have an Izuna, I mean, and you ash them, that makes the Izuna live, and then Izuna can go into Ripper that also like kills your next hand trap, mostly in it. And in some instances, it will make a brick hand non-bricky. It's the same with Charmies, where like if you go Perulia and draw phase and they bricked, but they had Izuna, they now can play, but they cannot normally. We have 6 more Charmies, which is the second reason why you play Ash Blossom, because this stops Perulia and Fualos. Perulia is public enemy number 1 for this deck, and Fualos is right second there with as public enemy number 2, and its faithful friend. These cards are the cards that you will mostly be losing to if you do not brick, because actual hand traps do not do that much versus the deck. Imperm, Ash, Veiler are not that solid into the deck, because not only can you like usually just play through them, a lot of the time you will just set up like enough where it's like next turn you will just play through it again, right? And yeah, Perulia and Fualos, you have to play these, I feel, in this deck, especially because drawing in this deck is stronger than in other decks, because you can draw into Holy Su, you can draw into attributes. If you already have Holy Su, you can draw into Izuna. Sometimes you will be able to even draw into Lupus after your Izuna has been hit. Sometimes you can just draw into Lupus itself and you have Lupus Holy Su, and that can be interruption as well. You don't need the Izuna per se, which will come up. Like if you have Holy Su plus Lupus, right? That's basically Izuna Lupus, right? Because you can go Holy Su, effect, reveal Lupus, chain Lupus, summon itself, and you can go Lupus with the Holy Su, which is a very cool interaction that you need to keep in mind. We have two Nibiru, because I needed a card that was really good into Malice and Yummy, because as you notice in my deck, I do not have those cards. Fualos hits Malice and Yummy, but Perulia and Ash Blossom are mediocre. Ash Blossom versus Malice is just dog shit. Like that card is just not good. But into Yummy, sometimes you'll be able to just fully stop them if you Ash the Synchro if they start with Skytracker Engine, and if you Ash like Obedience School. But other than that, the card is subpar into them. Sometimes it will not be subpar if you like maybe hit the Cupsy on normal summon and then you go Holy Su for Raisin, but that's just a hand that you will have very rarely. And last but not least, this guy. Now, if you've seen the matches from the tournament, you might be asking yourself, do I even play Raisin? And I was asking myself the same question because I barely saw this card. Like sometimes I would have to like go to my deck and check that he is here because I would be like slapping myself. I can't find it. But yes, you do play 3 of this guy. I wish I could play 10. This card's really, really good. It's probably the card holding the deck together in these tough times. The card is extremely strong. It's a fire attribute because fire attribute is the best attribute in the deck. It will add your Holy Sue. It plays around Joel way better than Madlove because you don't have to go through the start. And it's just the best card in the deck, hands down. It's the card that your opponent will normal summon and you'll start dreading them. For the extra deck, we have 2 Rock of the Vanquisher and 1 SP. No extra deck should not have these cards. These cards are mandatory. I do not think the 3rd Rock of the Vanquisher comes up if you play correctly. Vanquish Soul Rocks, the card is very good. I know some people cut it. I do not agree with that whatsoever. The card comes up a lot, especially versus Yummy. It allows you to make SP under Rivalry, under Gozen if you're Dark Locked. It allows you to make SP versus Yummy to remove their minion if they have that. And that's probably one of the few ways you win the matchup. Defense position Ash Blossom into the great SP target minion. And it also has the pop effect under Earth, which can sometimes come up, especially versus Yummy, where you will pop, and if they chain, you can pop whatever they summon and don't get the effect. 1 Ripper, second one does not come up if you play correctly as well. But the 1 of is mandatory. There's no reason to explain what this card does. This card searches your extenders, your hand traps for next turn, and it also acts as a hand trap negator. 1 Werewolf for the forced release. Card's been performing very good. Card can allow you to OTK. A werewolf with Lupus under it is just a menace. You'll just start killing everyone. And the effect to gain information by looking at the opponent's hand is just also very, very good. Sometimes this other effect, where on your turn you can banish a card, each will come up to out Rivalry. And also as an interruption, but usually if you just get to this guy, regardless of whether he's 6 or not, he just wins you the game. Valon and Nash Knight, no reason to talk about these cards. These cards are mandatory. Do not forget about Nash Knight's second effect. Do not forget about Nash Knight's second effect. We have C Nash Knight. This guy cannot be destroyed by card effect. Keep that in mind. Sometimes it will come up. And also keep in mind that the monster that this card summons will be destroyed in the next end phase. So a lot of the time you will like not focus on outing the Masquerade and you will out the other things, and Masquerade will just die in the end phase. Masquerade and Big Masquerade, this card's first effect comes up a lot to out the opponent's STs and also to pop our Case of K9 that sets our force release, which is a combo you will see me doing a lot. I will abuse the living shit out of that combo because a lot of the time, like I've seen some players just like add with Lantern the Force of K9 because they don't want to not have access to force release. But if you just read Case of K9, you can add Case of K9, add the K9 monster, and then destroy the card with C Masquerade, and that will give you access to force release and the Case of K9 add. And yeah, Typhon, Lupus is best friend, and the card you'll be summoning a lot in simpler game states. The moment you cut this card out of your deck, he will come up. So for now, he's right here. Sky Thunder doesn't come up that often, but when he does, he cleans. He comes up a lot in game states where you just put the Lupus into something and that the opponent cannot out it, and then on your turn, you can just make Zeus effect and keep the Lupus under it. And at that point, like a Yummy, for example, they just cannot out it. So if, for example, you go Fualos, they Ash it, and you have Izuna, you will just go Izuna effect, send Lupus effect, and then Lupus will synchro into any Link 5, maybe even like Hound, because Hound cannot be destroyed by Battle. Or you can just summon like Ripper, Nash Knight, whatever you want, right? And you will go battle phase attack, you will make Zeus, you will detach the Xyz and Izuna, keeping the Lupus, and that will just out the entire field. But again, that will not come up a lot. We have Paradise Smashes. This card is bait. You should not be making this card a lot. I feel like a lot of the game states you will just be winning regardless. If you get to a point where you have 3 level 5s that you've summoned without needing to lock yourself from Lantern or Yokel. And in that game state, why go from a game state where you're like 99 point whatever percent to win the game state and make it into a 92%? Which I've seen a lot of players like go out of their way just to make a Paradise Smashers, lose the 8%, and they went from a game state where the opponent could not top deck any card that wins them the game into losing that game. And obviously that's not going to happen a lot, but why put yourself in that position? Yu-Gi-Oh is a game of numbers, and you need to go for the play that maximizes your chances of winning. And I'm not saying this in a condescending way. I've also summoned this card a lot back when I first started playing the deck, but I've noticed, and also a lot of players who have played the deck a lot have noticed that the more you play the deck, the less this card comes up. I would not even be against cutting it if you find a better card in the extra deck. Last but not least, Hound did not summon this guy. Did not see this guy. He did not come up. You can cut this. You should probably play Queen Query instead. I think Queen Query is just a better card. And mid-tournament, I've realized that. The theory behind it is that like it's another target for forced release. And it's the only target that allows you to force release the Werewolf into a Hound under Rivalry. But that does not come up in reality. The card should be cut. Queen Query comes up more. We have Lancier for Malice. We have Duster for Rivalry goes in. Thrust to search the Duster. I feel like you have to play it. Those cards are the few cards that will just not allow you to play the game. That's why we play the one-off and we play the searches for the one-off. And we have Call by Talents and 3 Trust. So you want to be siding out your Perulias when you go first, and this way makes it so that you can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in one of the targets in, and that's 6 cards, which makes for good siding patterns. The targets are mutually for destruction. This is the best target for Vanquish Soul K9. There is no other card that is better than this to set off of Thrust. This card will just kill them, especially if you have like matching names in your hand and their hand, because they will not be able to use Holy Su. They will not be able to use Xiaolong. They will not be able to use any of the revealing effects. They will not be able to use Yoku. They will not be able to use Stake Your Soul as well. So this card just solos them and also gives you hand information. Black Goat Laughs, probably one of the best cards this tournament. It's insane versus Yummy. It's pretty good versus Malice. A lot of the time I found myself setting this over Dimensional Barrier versus Yummy because it just makes it so that if you call Snatchy, the opponent will not be able to summon a Snatchy, and not only does that hinder them, especially if they started with Obedience School, it will also make it so that they cannot set up a Snatchy for your turn, and that makes it so that they do not have interruption for your turn other than maybe them setting a surprise. The barrier should be cut. It's ideally mostly good versus fusion decks, from what I've noticed. It's not that good versus Yummy, because they can still set up under it. I have not played versus Dracotail this tournament, but if Dracotail sees more play, maybe Dimensional Barrier will see more play. But even then, a lot of the time, if they start with like Ketu, and you debarrier that, they will just add 5 mana and then 5 mana on your turn. So you're not setting up that much. Another thing they can do is they can chain 5 mana, summon in Gulamel, and they get their effects, they set their traps, and on your turn, they will have both traps plus Gulamel, right? And last but not least, we have Pankratops. It's an extremely good card, but only versus Yummy. You're not going to want to see this card versus the other decks unless you suspect them of playing Rivalry. And then it's just a mind game at that point, whether they play it or not, whether you want to side it or not, right? But versus Yummy, it's an extremely strong card, and we needed the last slot in the extra deck, in the side deck, to be a card that's good versus Yummy. And we are already playing Nib, so we just decided on Pankratops. It's very good versus Herald. You can go special summon Pankratops, and that outs both Heralds. You can go special summon Pankratops, normal summon Raisin, not use effect, and you just go battle phase, hit effects of Pankratops, and that outs mostly everything. But usually you will not do the latter play, because then they can get value off of their synchro that books targeting your raise. And that's it. That was the deck profile for the Vanquish Soul K9 deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next video, which will be posted in about a day from now, will be covering the Malice deck, aka the second deck we brought into this tournament. And yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay safe, and I hope you guys have a great day.